Aishwarya Soni from Study Spectrum TV channel, and today I'll be teaching you a new chapter that is based on diseases. And this chapter is present in the State Board of the 8th Standard. So today's objectives would be to understand what is disease, how is it really caused, and to understand a variety of diseases that are there present right now and the cure for them and the symptoms, that how can we recognize that that particular disease is present in the individual or has been infected into the individual by the microorganism. So just for starters, I'm going to tell you what exactly a microorganism is again, just to brush it up for you. So microorganisms are tiny, minute organisms that cannot be seen by the naked eyes. And these organisms need to be observed under compound microscopes, else we cannot really recognize and identify their shape or what is the mode of action in which they infect the human body. Well, not all microorganisms are actually harmful. There are certain microorganisms that are beneficial and there are certain microorganisms that are not good for the humankind. So the ones that are not good are known as pathogens. And pathogens may simply be defined as the microorganisms that have the ability to infect a host, or in short, a host is the organism that is being subjected to the infection. So I'm very sure that all of us in the whole of the lifespan till now have fallen ill at some point or the other. So what do you do when you fall ill? You basically go to the doctor prescribes you certain medicines, and you have them to just cure your illness. And this procedure finally leads to making you and getting your body back to the normal state. So the feeling when you have while you're ill is very coarse. You don't feel rejuvenated in that period. So this thing is this disease is the condition that affects a person's normal and mental behavior, and it affects the overall health in short. So we all know that we have fallen ill at some point or the other, but have we ever tried to understand that what exactly a disease is? So we all have fallen ill at some point or the other in the whole of the lifespan. Now the fact is that, have you ever tried thinking that what is the factor behind you falling ill, or what is the factor that causes this infection in your body and makes the functioning of your body abnormal? So next question I'll ask you to think upon is, why does one get diseases? So the answer for this is very obvious. I explained it to you right in the start that there are certain microorganisms that are harmful, and these harmful microorganisms are known as pathogens. So what do these pathogens do is that they enter the body from the surroundings, like surrounding things, materials like air, then water, then food, or the direct contact with the patient, and they cause this occurrence in the body, and this leads to the final functioning of the body that is not normal and gives an individual or an ill patient a symptom that patient doesn't feel mentally and normally well, or in short, the whole health cycle of that individual or the ill patient is disturbed. Now, how actually there is this one factor in the whole body that's known as the resistance or the immunity. So resistance is responsible for fighting against these microorganisms that are pathogens that enter your body. And if an individual's resistance or the immunity of the body is strong to fight against that disease or fight against the microorganism that is causing that disease, there are chances that this disease may not occur. But vice versa, if the resistance or the immunity of an individual is not that strong, the chances of occurrence of disease is equally high. So that is why it is prescribed by doctors to the whole family to have food that is healthy, that gives your body the proper nutrition, because of that your whole body makes the whole systems work, like your circulatory system, your immune system, respiratory system, or any other factor. So that is why, just imagine a day where you have had no food, for like one meal you have not had. The rest of your day will go lazy and you will not be feeling well, you'll be feeling dizzy and uneasy and nauseous. So it is very important to have healthy food. Now, we will just understand the types of diseases actually. So there are three main types of diseases. The first one is the epidemic diseases, the second one is the communicable diseases, and the third one would be the contagious diseases. Now, let's start with the epidemic diseases. The definition of epidemic diseases would be a widespread occurrence of an infectious disease in a community at a particular time. So I'll give you an example for this. We all know this occurrence in the year 1994 when there was an onset of plague, and there were tons of people, there were thousands of people who were infected by this, and the death rate had increased. So this plague was the first phenomenon, and if you can't relate to that, so I'll give you one more example. That example is a recent occurrence and it happened in the year 2009 as well as the year 2015, that is right now, this running year. And that was the disease of swine flu. So swine flu, we have browsed through the news channels and TV channels and we've seen that what was the impact of swine flu. It was suggested to you that you were supposed to wear face masks and have precautionary methods, sanitize your hands. That was because these microorganisms that caused the swine flu, that was the H1N1 virus, was really infectious and its virulence factor was much more to infect the body of any individual as such. So there were hardly some individuals that would be spared from this rot. So epidemic diseases can be actually seen with the factors of contamination of water or the air that is being contaminated or any other factor. So all this leads to a final occurrence at a time, and at a particular time this leads to the whole factor of the epidemic diseases. So the examples for this would be cholera, the second example would be influenza, the third one would be typhoid, and the fourth one would be conjunctivitis. Now conjunctivitis, we observe it every summer season. So what happens in this is that your eyes get a very reddish, rashy feeling and it is watery. So it is well suggested by doctors to wear glasses. That is a precautionary method, to wear the glasses and to prevent direct the contact with other people, because it is a very infectious disease, and hence it is known as the epidemic diseases, because many people can get this disease and obtain this disease in a particular period of time. The next one that we have is the communicable diseases. The communicable diseases are the diseases or illness that are transmitted through the contact of microbes. Now, this contact of microbes is through a medium, that is, it is not directly in contact with the host. So, through the medium means it is with the mediums like contaminated food, contaminated air, contaminated water, or any other medium that is contaminated. By handling contaminated means. So the example for this is tuberculosis and influenza again. So tuberculosis, we know that the patients are given spitting hoop, and the sputum has a lot of microorganisms in it, a lot of bacteria actually that causes this infection. So it is the patient is asked to be kept in separate rooms, separate chambers. Direct contact is not really allowed, or when they are the apparatus that is used for them is utilized, it is always disinfected with the help of a disinfectant. And disinfectant is nothing but a chemical substance that is used for sterilizing the whole of the apparatus, like your utensils, your clothes, that is used by the patient. And next would be influenza. So influenza, again I told you, influenza is also kind of flu. Swine flu is also the same thing, relatable, but the viruses are different that they affect them. The next one we'd go to is the contagious diseases. So contagious diseases are the one in which germs from the distant diseased person's body are come into the direct contact with the close contact with the host organism. Host organism, supposedly we are the host organism, that is the human being is the host organism. So when suppose that there is a dog that has rabies and it has bitten you. So that is one direct contact, and in this way it is also a possibility that the person might have chances to get rabies. And to avoid this, it is actually suggested by doctors to take around 5 shots of rabies, that is Rabipur actually. So the bacteria and viruses are the microorganisms that are responsible for the contagious diseases, and this happens by direct contact of a diseased individual to a healthy individual. So with the direct contact, the disease is transmitted to the healthy individual, and the examples are scabies and eczema. Now, the process in which the microorganism or the bacteria or virus that infects the healthy individual or healthy host is not easy actually. Once the bacteria, it is not a condition in which the bacteria just enters the body and it directly infects the whole of the body. It's not as easy as it seems. The whole process goes like, supposedly, I am a healthy host and I am sitting along with my friend who has got influenza. So, who's got flu actually. So that comes in the section of communicable diseases. So what happens is the bacteria, for supposedly not influenza, let's just consider the example of tuberculosis, because I told you that tuberculosis is spread by the bacteria actually. So what happens is, when I'm sitting with my friend who has a tuberculosis and I'm the healthy host and my friend is the ill patient, so the virus or the bacteria will come to my body, come into me and enter my body, and it would not be a very easy process for the bacteria or the microorganism or viruses to infect my body. So what happens is, when this bacteria or virus is into the body, it takes a certain period to infect the cells and to infect the immune system. So this period is actually very definite. There are fixed numbers of days or fixed numbers of hours that are set for every disease, because the bacteria that infects the individual is the same and has same characteristics of infecting the individual's immune system. So that period, that in this example that I told you, tuberculosis. So for tuberculosis there would be a fixed period, and this fixed period would be known as the incubation period. So incubation period is nothing but the period in which a microorganism takes time to establish its infection into the host body.
Choose the right kindergarten, a right bag, and matching bottle to go with. The right school, the right friends. Choose the right subjects and score well. Be an expert in all. The right teacher, and make sure that they like you. Choose the right timing, the right bus, and take a cab if getting late. The right train, and don't stand near the gates. Mind the pockets. Better get into ladies' compartment, and make sure your mustache hasn't started coming. Choose the right study time and forget games. IPL, IHL, rock and metal, guitar, axe. The right group, and be a model to your brother. Seriously. Choose the right syllabus, the right test paper. Keep guessing questions for exams. Choose the right branch, the right college, the right stream. Choose the right career. Lucky to have a father's business to take care of and a father to allow that. The right counselor, the right form, and make sure the project is submitted on time. Choose the right website and rely on your friends for more information. Oblivious of the sites they have been to, there is no end to your woes. Getting better with every step you climb up the ladder. The summer vacation shorter, the bucket list bigger, the night darker, the books heavier. The only light you have is your friends ahead of you. Probably he is right. Ever thought how he got the direction? No more spending your energy and money on coaching classes. No more missing classes for rain, rally, and nonsense. Get your interest back in subjects through our creative ways of teaching. Doubts, concepts, applications, all explained through one vibrant animation. Subjects covered by multiple teachers with repeat telecasts. Special programs only for basic foundation and paper analysis. Personality development, career counseling, admissions, hobbies, all covered. A new approach to study with long-term perspective. So sit back comfortably in your homes and watch Study Spectrum TV channel.
About the objective of this chapter, that is to understand a variety of disease and their symptoms and cause of occurrence and the prevention and treatment for this. So we will proceed with that further. So the first disease that we'll take is the chickenpox. Now chickenpox, and we all have got it at least once in our lifespan, that is when we were kids we have got chickenpox. And there is actually, this is because of the virus that causes chickenpox when it enters your body and it infects your body. So the mode of infection is simply the disease is produced when the disease causing virus over there enters the host body with the air that we are breathing or directly by the contact with an infected individual or infected patient. So usually it is suggested that the contact is to be reduced or to not be actually done at all, because the immune system may be affected by this virus that enters. So usually actually what happens is that in your house, either you or your siblings or anybody else might have had got this infection. So you might remember your parents telling you to not go near them, to not do anything for them, to not sit near them, to not just maintain distance, safe distance with them. That is because they are taking a prevention, and prevention is always better than cure. They're taking the prevention for you to not be infected. So we all have actually gone through this process in houses when we were kids actually. So how do you understand that this disease of chickenpox has infected the individual? So the symptoms are very simple, and there are 4 symptoms. The first symptom is the individual that is affected would have high fever. The second is the patient which would be infected by the virus of chickenpox would always complain about headaches. And the third one is there would be small boils on the skin of the host. Now small boils, we've seen that this factor of small boils occurring on the surface of skin and then finally turning to blisters and swabs formed on them in a few days. So that is why it is very itchy, and it is always suggested that you don't itch on the scar, on the boil or the blister, because it would leave a scar behind. So these are the 4 symptoms that can easily explain or usually just state that an individual is infected with chickenpox. Now with every symptom and every infection, there is always a preventive measure or a treatment step that is taken. So for this, the only step that we can try to take is to avoid the contact with the infected person. As I told you, your parents would have had done that with you, or any other sibling who would have had been infected in the house. The other is to have proper medical treatments. Now, what do the doctors do is they give you allergens, that because your skin will have blisters, as I've just told you over here right now, small boils that will turn to blisters. So it is a very itchy feeling, and just to relieve it, they would give you allergens, they would give you antibiotics, and all these medical prescriptions, and these need to be consumed properly and on time given to the patient and consumed by the patient to get the treatment to get this disease cured. And this disease also has a very definite incubation period, and it lasts for that long, but there are exceptional cases in which it may extend actually. So the clause to this now is that a person does not get chickenpox usually second time in its lifespan, because the body once has gotten the chickenpox, it acquires an immunity for against chickenpox. So usually a person does not have the chance of getting chickenpox twice in lifetime. And because our body is designed in such a way that our immune system, it creates such antibodies against that microorganism or virus or any other bacteria that enters into the body and tries to infect it. So the next time when this chickenpox virus it enters your body, the body's immune system recognizes that this virus had entered the body and infected it. And what does this immune system do? Our immune system, it just doesn't allow the virus to cause the disease back again to the body. So we'll repeat it once again just to get it thorough to you. The answer for chickenpox is, the first what we learned is the mode of action. In that we learned that the disease is produced when the disease causing virus enters the host body with the air that is breathed in, or by direct contact with an infected individual. So the mode of action or the disease type may also be contagious because it is in direct mode of action. You remember I explained to you about the 3 types of diseases. From that, one is contagious, in which there is direct contact of the individual that is infected to the normal healthy individual causing the disease. So the chickenpox mode of action can be named as contagious disease. The next is we analyzed about the main symptoms. We understood that high fever, headache, small boils on skin that turn to blisters and form scabs on them in a few days. These are the 4 symptoms that make it thorough that a person is infected with chickenpox. So the preventive measures and the treatment for this is nothing but to avoid the direct contact with an infected person, and also to disinfect its clothes, its utensils, and any other material or apparatus that they have been using. So it needs to be disinfected with disinfectants to just kill the germs and viruses. The next one is to have proper medical treatment, but it is also the point that a person once acquires this chickenpox. So the next disease that we have in the list is polio. Now polio is a disease in which the virus affects the legs and it leads to a very deformed formation of legs in the patient. So let's shift to the mode of infection of this disease. So this disease spreads through air, food and water that is contaminated with the polio virus. Now again, we'll compare this to the table that I taught you. The table had epidemic diseases and communicable diseases and also contagious diseases. So which category do you think it fits in? Now this over here, the mode of action is that the disease spreads through the air, food and water that is contaminated with the polio virus. So this means that the contact is indirect, and since it being an indirect contact and that is through the microbes actually, so this mode of infection can be named as the communicable diseases. Now, as I told you, after every mode of infection, there are certain set of symptoms that are necessary to analyze and to just evaluate that yes, this disease is present in the host. So the symptoms are fever. Fever is a very common symptom because fever is an indication of the change that is happening in your body. The normal temperature of your body increases and that indicates that there is something wrong with your body's functioning. So the second symptom is the throat becomes red. The third symptom for the polio virus infected patient would be that strain is felt in muscles of the arms and legs. So since I told you that it is a disease that occurs and that deforms the legs and the arms of the patient. The fourth one is, since there is a strain observed over the while of time, there will be weakness too in the muscles of the arms and the legs, and followingly there will be growth of the muscles is arrested. The growth of muscles is arrested. So why is this? Now, as I told you, I've mentioned this word deformed. Now, deformed means that the symmetry is not there in the shapes. The shape is not identical to each other. So this is when this factor happens, that there is weakness observed and there is strain observed, that would finally result in the seizing of the growth of muscles, and because of which this deformity is seen. This similarity is seen in the structures. Now the next symptom is that muscle becomes flaccid and causes disability. Now, the final symptom would lead to the place where the muscles will become flaccid, and they would lead to the disability, where it would cause this factor and it would make it difficult for the patient to perform activities like walking or running, or it makes it very disbalanced actually. So, with every symptoms, there again is a preventive measure and a treatment that is taking place. So, the first preventive measure or a treatment that is there is the vaccine. The vaccination for this was introduced and discovered by Salk and Sabin, and what they did is they took the polio virus and they made a vaccine out of it. They diluted it, the heat killed it, and that vaccine is injected into the that vaccine is actually not injected, it is orally taken. This is an oral vaccine that is taken, and this is consisting of the polio virus that is heat killed and then introduced into the body. So what does the antibodies do? They mark this virus, that is the polio virus that is heat killed, and they develop the antibodies onto them. These cells, they develop antibodies, and it makes the whole body immune against this polio virus. So there's this one national campaign, that is a Pulse Polio campaign, that is run by the National Department of Health, that is by our government. So what does this, you might have seen a lot of commercials on TV also. So these commercials are, the tagline for this commercial is "Do boons in the kiki," because this vaccine is taken orally, 2 drops of it. So there is a specific day set, and on that specific day, this campaign is carried out all over India into the most remote areas also to eradicate polio. So what is done is, there are 2 doses of polio vaccination given to every child that belongs to the age group below 5 by these people who conduct these surveys. So they go and they perform all the vaccination process for every child under the age of 5 years, and this would also help the child's immune system to be made strong and eradicate polio from the root. So the main concern of this campaign, that is the Pulse Polio campaign, is to eradicate polio from our country and make our country healthy. So I'll just repeat this whole thing again. What we learned about polio: we learned about the mode of infection, we learned about the symptoms, and we learned about the preventive measures and treatment. So in mode of infection, we learned that this disease is a communicable disease because the polio virus enters the host's body through contaminated air, water, and food, which is contaminated by the polio virus actually. So once this virus enters the body, it causes that infection and it causes this disability in the host organism. The next was, we learned about symptoms. The first symptom that will be observed in any polio virus infected patient is fever, followed by throat redness. Then the next symptom that would be seen would be strain that would be felt in the host organism's muscles, in the arm and the legs, and also the back. Followingly, there's weakness in the muscles, and which leads to the retardation of growth. The growth of muscles is lagged behind and arrested, which is followed by the muscles becoming flaccid, and this finally resulting into the disability. Over here. And for this preventive measure is just to take the vaccination, because vaccination is only the cure that can cure this, and it is very important to take the vaccination. There are certain conflicts in the remote areas that vaccinations are not a natural kind of treatment, and it is not very well accepted, but it is not the point. These measures are taken for the individuals, for the human beings to be healthy and to sustain life in a very healthy manner. So vaccinations are really important part. And when you are kid also, you have a course of vaccination for everything, because vaccinations make your body immune for a period of time, or there are certain vaccines that make your body immune for a very long time actually. And the next one is proper medical treatments. Followingly, ever since the advent of science, there have been so many modifications in the medicinal field, and which have finally led to the proper medical treatment that needs to be given to every polio virus infected host. So we also learned about the scientists, that was Salk and Sabin, who discovered the vaccination for polio by using polio virus itself. So polio virus vaccination using the polio virus was discovered by Salk and Sabin. Then we learned about the Pulse Polio campaign. The Pulse Polio campaign is an initiative that is taken by the National Health Department of the government, and this campaign is to eradicate polio from the root of the country. And what is done in this campaign is that there's a survey conducted throughout at a particular day into the remotest areas of villages, rural areas, and into the remotest areas of India. So what is done is there are many children below the age of 5 years. Wherever there are children present below the age span of 5 years, they are given oral vaccinations, and these vaccinations are helpful in curing polio, that is the disease, and making the nation healthy, because a healthy nation is the trademark and the onset where there is growth seen.